I'm going to begin today with some new revelations about Jeff Zucker. So Zucker is out at CNN, and hilariously, the entire CNN host coterie is very upset about this. They say they are shocked. They are stunned. He was such a good, but why is he being ousted? Just because he was having a consensual, loving relationship with his top deputy, Alison Gollust. What? Why? Why would this happen? Well, the answer to why this would happen, as it turns out, is because Jeff Zucker has apparently been knocking boots with this lady since the mid-90s and then elevating to every job she ever held afterward. According to Rolling Stone, in relationships, timing is everything. And the timeline on Jeff Zucker and Alison Gollust coupledom is not only off by more than 2 decades, say sources who have worked with the pair. The CNN power couple also repeatedly lied about their relationship to their corporate bosses. According to CNN President Zucker's February 2nd resignation memo to staff, the romantic relationship, which marks a flagrant violation of corporate policy, given that Gollust, the network's top communications executive, was a direct report to Zucker for most of her 9-year tenure there, began sometime in the past 2 years. Gollust said in the same memo, Jeff and I have been close friends and professional partners for over 20 years. Recently, our relationship changed during COVID. I regret we didn't disclose it at the right time. Zucker said the relationship evolved in recent years. Zucker noted in his memo that Warner Media's ongoing investigation into Chris Cuomo, who was fired in December for a breach of ethics after it was discovered he'd been advising his brother, former New York Gov. Andrew Cuomo, while the latter faced accusations of sexual harassment, brought the affair to light and prompted his resignation. It seems the probe, which is being overseen by the law firm of Cravath, Swaine & Moore, again, one of the most Tony law firms in all of America, is unearthing plenty of embarrassing details about the goings-on at CNN. The scope of the investigation has now expanded to include Zucker and Gollust's relationship with Andrew Cuomo, too, according to a Warner Media source. But sources who worked closely with Zucker and Gollust, dating back to their days at the Today Show in the mid-90s, dispute their statements in the memo. In reality, these sources tell Rolling Stone, Zucker became romantically entangled with Gollust back in 1996. Because that's 25 years ago, when she was trainee in NBC's corporate communications group, and he was the married executive producer of the Today Show. It was the worst-kept secret, but Jeff was seen as untouchable, says one insider, and their statements in the memo are total BS. In fact, the pair have skirted the issue multiple times in the past. At least one investigation into their relationship had been carried out by Warner Media well before COVID. But Zucker and Gollust denied the romance over and over again, says a knowledgeable source. Nothing changed in the corporate hierarchy's reporting structure. A Warner Media spokesperson denied that any such investigation had ever been launched, but acknowledged that both parties had been asked about the nature of their relationship multiple times, including after a New York Post gossip item hinted at a romance when they were spotted arguing at a Hollywood Reporter party in 2017. The pair repeatedly denied any impropriety. A representative for Zucker said, quote, Jeff resigned due to an undisclosed personal relationship. A representative for Gollust did not respond to Rolling Stone's request for comment. Well, here is the backstory. On May 1st, 2020, this is according to Rolling Stone, Jason Kilar took the reins as CEO of Warner Media and immediately set about overhauling the sprawling entertainment and media conglomerate owned by AT&T. In the process, Zucker, who also served as chairman of Warner Media's news and sports division, lost oversight of CNN's finances and human resources as well as corporate communications, the division run by top executive Gollust. Sources say Kilar was aware of rumors that Zucker was in a long-term relationship with Gollust, who is also the network's chief marketing officer, and that Zucker, given just 24 hours notice of the move, was livid. So he's very angry that suddenly his lover is not working for him any longer. His lover is now working for Kilar. Kilar's sudden restructuring prompted several journalists to begin chasing the story of Zucker and Gollust's unorthodox union. Back in September 2020, this reporter placed calls to Warner Media and specifically asked if Kilar's decision to move Gollust out from under Zucker was a result of learning about their relationship, which was in violation of the company's code of conduct. At the time, a Warner Media spokesperson declined to answer and referred the matter to Gollust herself. Still, a behind-the-scenes executive showdown ensued, and Zucker appeared to have prevailed. After the May 2021 announcement that AT&T would be spinning off Warner Media and merging it with Discovery, Kilar, reportedly blindsided by the news, began negotiating his own exit. Zucker was rumored to be getting a bigger role in the new entity because he was very close with the Discovery CEO, David Zaslav. Gollust, in turn, was supposed to become the head of CNN, so Zucker was going to fail upward. Kilar, who was trying to clean house, was going to be ousted, and Gollust was going to take Zucker's place as the head of CNN. So corrupt, so terrible. But those well-laid plans came crashing down when the investigation into Chris Cuomo began sweeping up embarrassing details concerning Zucker and Gollust, including emails and other evidence that painted an undeniable picture of the duo's romantic relationship. The evidence only surfaced in recent days, say two sources, and Kilar basically used this as an excuse to chop off Zucker's head. Facing termination, Zucker resigned and is not poised to receive any severance. Sources say Zaslav was not involved in the decision to cut ties with Zucker. But this isn't the only problem. It turns out that apparently Catherine Forrest, a former U.S. district judge who's actually overseeing the legal investigation into all of this. Forrest is apparently investigating not just Chris Cuomo's alleged help in helping his brother Andrew, but also Zucker and Gallus' help. The source says the investigation suggests Zucker and Gallus were advising Andrew Cuomo at the beginning of the COVID pandemic in ways not dissimilar to what led to Chris Cuomo's dismissal. As Andrew sparred on a daily basis with then-President Trump over COVID messaging, the couple provided the governor with talking points on how to respond to the president's criticism of the New York crisis. They booked the governor directly to appear on the network exclusively, which became a ratings boon for CNN, with Chris Cuomo doing the interviewing. Cuomo and Gallus' conduct, too, would appear to mark an ethical breach for executives acting on behalf of an impartial news organization. And again, Rolling Stone says over the past 3 decades, the Zucker-Gallus relationship was no secret inside the newsrooms of NBC or CNN. Within a year of Zucker and Gallus commencing the affair, according to multiple sources, Gallus leapfrogged from trainee to the role of senior publicist for The Today Show. Zucker became her boss, a paradigm that continued for years to come with only 2 brief interruptions. Through a series of promotion, her purview expanded. She added oversight duties for NBC News, MSNBC, CNBC, and Weather Channel, as well as NBC Nightly News, Dateline, and Meet the Press. So Zucker was nailing this intern, basically, and she kept moving upward with him. He just kept elevating her in stature to the point where eventually he was going to move up at Discovery, and she was going to end up as the head of CNN. Meanwhile, both of them at CNN were calling up Andrew Cuomo to advise him on how to handle the pandemic and comms with Donald Trump, which makes perfect sense considering that Jeff Zucker knew Cuomo and Gallus had once been a senior comms director for Cuomo. In 2000, Zucker became president of NBC Entertainment and quickly pulled off a series of splashy deals, including signing Donald Trump to host The Apprentice and Joe Rogan to host Fear Factor. Oh, the irony. In 2009, Gallus was named executive VP of corporate communications at NBC Universal, becoming the chief spokesperson for Zucker. But then in June 2010, Zucker was ousted as Comcast was about to complete its 51% acquisition of NBC Universal. He was paid $30 million to $40 million to leave. And then 5 months later, Gallus resigned. And then as Zucker was plotting his media world comeback, both he and Gallus became intertwined with the Cuomo brothers. In 2012, Gallus took a post as comms director for Andrew Cuomo. Not long after, Zucker joined CNN. One of his first hires was Chris Cuomo. Very quickly after that, Gallus resigned and joined Zucker at CNN, where she was named Senior Vice President of Communications for CNN worldwide. Unbelievable. Gallus says she now plans to stay with the network, even if any ascension plans have evaporated. Well, that makes sense. I mean, who's going to hire her? Who's going to look at Allison Gallus as anything but a hire by a guy who was having sex with her, allegedly, for 25 years? By the way, they were both married for a large portion of this time. So these are just the delightful people who are running the most trusted name in news. And the CNN staffers are angry. But they're not angry at Jeff Zucker or Allison Gallus. They're angry at Chris Cuomo. Now listen, Chris Cuomo is a douchebag, but Chris Cuomo is not responsible for this. Chris Cuomo is just pointing out what everybody apparently at CNN knew, which is that Zucker and Gallus were doing exactly what Chris Cuomo was doing, except they were also knocking boots at the time. It's all absurd. It's all absurd. It's an incestuous little pathetic circle. It's really, really funny. Yeah, apparently, CNN employees are really, really mad at Cuomo. According to reports from Politico, everyone here is heartbroken and shocked. People are blaming this on Chris. Not a lot of love between CNN and Chris Cuomo for a while. Apparently, Jake Tapper said, an outside observer might say, it looks like Chris Cuomo succeeded. He threatened Jeff. Jeff said, we don't negotiate with terrorists, and Chris blew the place up. How do we get past the perception this is the bad guy winning? Well, I mean, listen, I like a lot of what Jake does, but all of these people are the bad guy. I'm not aware that Chris Cuomo is not the bad guy, but Jeff Zucker is the good guy. He and Allison Gallus were overtly, apparently, advising Andrew Cuomo in the middle of the pandemic while running the most trusted name in news. I mean, this is a corrupt yuck. But this is how it works. The rules didn't apply to these people until it became convenient for the rules to apply to these people. Like Warner Media had to know that these two were lovers for years. I mean, apparently everybody in town knew. Megyn Kelly says everybody in town knew. Like everybody. And they just kept failing upward. Because let's face it, Jeff Zucker has done nothing successful since he ran the Today Show. He blew up what was the best nightly lineup. Really, the best comedy lineup probably in the history of TV. Like this massively successful nightly primetime lineup at NBC. And Jeff Zucker came in and just destroyed it. And then he somehow failed upward into the position at CNN, and he was about to fail upward again into a position at Discovery. That's how all this works. So what really happened here? What really happened here is that Killar, it sounds like, took his revenge by initiating this investigation on the basis of Chris Cuomo's lawsuit, and then use that as a way of getting Zucker out. Which suggests, once again, the rules only apply when the powerful want them to apply. It's really not that there's a set of rules that Zucker and Gallus violated. They've been violating the set of rules for 25 years. Every HR violation in the world sounds like it happens right here. I mean, she was his direct inferior at a company. That is like a blatant HR violation. And then beyond that, they were coordinating with outside politicians that they were supposed to be covering on an objective news level. It's amazing stuff. But that's how it always works. Always and forever. Right? Mercy for my friends, the law for my enemies. Which is why, by the way, Don Lemon, who's the chief of the cancel culture brigade. I mean, Don Lemon just spends all day long trying to get people canceled he does not like. Anybody he doesn't like shouldn't be on TV, shouldn't be held out a platform. Now he's out there defending Whoopi Goldberg. Of course, of course. Lemon says, in this environment, we have to be allies to each other. Sometimes your allies say stupid things. Sometimes they say dumb things. But guess what? They're your allies. They're at least on your side, and they're trying to learn. We have to stop trying to cancel people and shouting down our allies. Notice the repeated use here by Don Lemon of the word allies. Right? The consistent attempts to suggest that there is a double standard here, that if they are your friends, then of course we have to stop trying to cancel people. But if they're not your friends, then you can destroy them. I love that Lemon says, Whoopi is an ally to the Jewish community. Oh, really? In what way? Name all the ways that Whoopi Goldberg is a massive ally to the Jewish community. She was retweeting anti-Semitic, pro-Palestinian nonsense just a few years ago. I'm not aware that Whoopi Goldberg is an extraordinary exponent of anti-Semitism, of fighting anti-Semitism. But according to Don Lemon, who's an expert on this sort of stuff, Whoopi is an ally to the Jewish community. Yeah, tell me about it, John. Please tell me about how much of an ally Whoopi Goldberg is to the Jewish community. The guy wearing the yarmulke, tell it to me, right to my face. He said she is. She said something she shouldn't have said. Okay, fine. But don't put her in a corner and marginalize her. Use her to the best of your ability to get the conversation and your points across about what's wrong about that kind of thinking, because she's not the only one who thinks it. Okay, now here is my rule. My rule is Don Lemon is generally correct. We should have conversations with people, and the conversations can be enriching and we can all learn from one another, unless you hold by the cancel culture standard. If you are a member of the mob, you do not get to claim immunity from the mob. Then the mob should eat you. You made the rules, and you should abide by those rules. You made the bed, and now you get to lie in it. Whoopi Goldberg is very fond of getting people canceled. I'm fine with Whoopi Goldberg getting canceled. Same thing with Don Lemon. Same thing with Jeff Zucker. Same thing with Alison Gallus. I mean, Jeff Zucker and Alison Gallus actually violated some basic professional rules. They should be fired no matter what. But when it comes to the generalized attitude of the left toward when the rules apply, they only apply to quote-unquote allies. It just demonstrates there are no rules for the left. There is just pure power. How's this for a title? Ben Shapiro Show subscriber destroys like button with clicks and logic. I'd watch that. Make it happen, gang.